So yeah, what a great day. I've learned so much today. I hope you all do. In the next 15 minutes, I'll be talking about front-end decision tree 2.0. A little disclaimer, it's going to be like 60-40 content and code, but I'm sure it'll add up to our learning today. So, OK, why am I doing this talk? So there's this question that I could ask so many times, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's this one. How to make it easier to decide and prioritize within a front-end project. And every time I got asked this question, my go-to answer used to be, it depends. Well, it depends because there's so many factors that could affect the outcome of this question. And it depends seems to be the safe answer I could think of. But then again, how meaningful is the word? It depends. I'm not proposing a universal absolute truth, nor that I believe it exists. But I'd like to challenge myself to avoid these two words. So I started research, and I discovered that there's a pattern with fundamental steps that brought me closer to my version of absolute truth. And in these presentations, I'd like to share you these 3 steps. So step 1, it's know your why. Some of you might have seen this. It's called the Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. Basically, he believes that it doesn't matter what you do. You need to start with the why, and then the how. Lastly, the what. So from the inside out. But a lot of projects and companies do the opposite. They communicate, plan, and execute using their what. A good example of someone who communicates, plans, and executes using why would be Elon Musk. Like, he has the same 24 hours as us, yet manages to run 5 different companies without having a burnout or depression. How does he do that? Unsurprisingly, each of his projects is driven by a sense of purpose, by why. The Falcon Heavy was launched last week, and people were like cheering, sharing on it, like tuning on it. I was one of them. I was like watching his roadster orbiting the Earth for like hours, literally, when I was working. And people were like cheering, and I thought, it's like, do you think they were cheering? Do you think we were cheering for Elon Musk? No, we didn't. We were cheering for ourselves because we believe in what he believes, therefore we want him to succeed. And this will happen to our project as well. When we communicate, plan, and execute using our why, people who believe in what we believe will want us to succeed. And if these people are our target group, then the success of your project will be pretty much high. And not only that, like when you know your why, it's easy because then you have the vision, you know where you're heading, decision-making and prioritizations would just come natural for us. The second step, define what's urgent or important and decide only what's necessary. The second part is very important, decide only what's necessary. Let me tell you why. This is called the Eisenhower box. Eisenhower was the 34th president of the United States of America. He had a background in military. Eisenhower had this incredible ability to sustain high productivity, not just for weeks or months, but for decades. And for this reason, his method for task management, time management, and priorities have been studied for so many years by so many people. This table looked really pretty straightforward, like, okay, urgent, do now, non-urgent, decide later, and whatever. But to master this takes a lot of practice, dedication, awareness, which, to be very honest, I'm totally lacking of because I'm easily distracted. Like, I'm thinking about pizza right now for dinner. That's how distracted I am. And if you are someone like me who's like easily distracted with like squirrel, there's this method that worked for me, which hopefully will work for you too. It's actually by answering this question, why Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. It's because he knew about decision-making that most people don't. He was avoiding what's called decision fatigue that most of us suffer, you and I. But since everybody suffers from it, it's just considered as a normal thing. If you think like, well, I'm a normal person, I'm not really making that much decision, try this for fun. Write down every decision you've made in the last 24 hours, like big, small, everything in between. You will end up with thousands. In fact, a research shown a normal human adult makes approximately 35,000 decisions every day. 226.7 of them just about the food. And this is insane. Like me, thinking about pizza. Yay. But this is insane. This is literally your brain is subconsciously wasting energy just to think of processing decision that doesn't even make that much difference in your life. So what I'm trying to say is, do yourself and your project a favor. Avoid all the drama, like all the unnecessary noises, and just focus on what's important. And also one thing that I really like, which gonna help us to the next step, is automate decisions and priorities when possible. Automate decisions and priorities when possible. And this brought us to the step 3, the action. So in this step, my goal was to apply both of my findings to apply to real-world scenarios. I'm going to give 2 examples. And again, the challenge here is to avoid the word, it depends, to find the close to absolute truth for my version in my scenario. And I'm using a Fenopi, my side project. It's basically a marketplace to find any location for your occasions. And I'm going to move on to the first example. The question that I get asked a lot, which framework would you recommend? Usually I would say, like, well, it depends. I mean, it depends, right? But right now, I'm going to ask them, okay, sure, tell me your priorities. What is your priorities? So cost represents the budget for your project. The higher it is in your priority, meaning that you probably don't have a lot of money, like me. And then popularity represents how important it is to use a framework that's been used by developers, and they would like to use it again. So it's like a framework that is reliable, in a way. And flexibility represents how flexible you want your project to support. Like, are you thinking about PWA? Do you want to use AMP on your project? And so on and so on, or like crazy SEO stuff. I know, people can be crazy lately. So, and the last one is a time. Represents that, the deadline was yesterday. We all know it. So, well, I'm using the data from 2017 state of JavaScript. I created a map of it. So based on the priority inputs you're going to give me, I'm going to put it together with this data to help me to find the answer. And I'm using a simple program for it. Let me see. Demo time. Oh, awesome. Why? Oh, because I don't have connection, though. Let me try. I was actually talking to the previous talker as well. Like he tried it like for 100 times, and then when you're here, it just didn't work. Happens to me now. The curse of a speaker. Yay. OK, so I'm going to give an example. I'm creating like a probability calculation framework using JavaScript. So in my case, for Fenopi, we don't have a lot of budget, so the cost is very important. And for me, popularity is kind of important, time, and then flexibility. In this case, the program would suggest me to use Vue. Yeah, and then underneath, you see the probability score as well. Imagine if you're a big company, I can imagine you probably want something more reliable, and then you probably want something more flexible, and cost probably would be like less important because you're rich. And there will be React, and so on and so on. You can play around with it, but next time when your PO come up to you, you can actually say like, well, it's backed by real data, instead of like guessing around. So, second example. Which story should we do first? This is my PO asking me a lot of times. So I'm using what's called the data-driven task prioritizations. There are 4 important aspects. Impact is the percentage of the user will be affected by this story. Cost is how much money that needs to be spent or saved when doing this story. Confidence is how confident you are with accomplishing this story. And time is with a Fibonacci number if you're if you know about the Scrum, which is kind of like 139, something like that. So this is a formula. It's actually Yeah, it was made famous by Intercom. Like, I got it from Intercom, but I just adjusted a bit for Fenopi because, yeah, I needed a bit different. But it's based on Intercom's blog post. So the formula is impact, cost, confidence per time, and that will be your score. The higher it is on top, then the most probably that the program will suggest you to do the story first. Let's demonstrate it with the real-world scenario. This is like a real story from Fenopi. So we have like 4 stories, which are create a booking payment system, write blog post, integrate chosen JavaScript framework, and update color palette. So I sat down with my team, and we have this score. And based on this score, combining with the formula, the program will give me this, like, yeah, score of probability and score of weight. And basically, we're going to come up with these suggestions. This looks really simple, but imagine if you have like hundreds of stories. Wouldn't it be nice if the first step would be done by a machine, so then later on you can always adjust? I mean, of course, you can still move it around because you're the one who decides. But wouldn't it be nice if it gets simpler for you? So after I did these two examples, I was asking myself, this is fun. And then, what now? Well, this is getting very interesting, because this is actually where the fun begins. I've always been interested with AI, but my knowledge in Python and TensorFlow is kind of limited. So I thought, yeah, why not play around with JavaScript? Why not just experiment with it? So I did. So I started to do a lot of research, and based on Burak Kanper, article about JavaScript using, machine learning using JavaScript, I experimented with our framework probability, the first one with the React. So imagine you have a lot of data, and the more data you have, then you can train it, meaning that I'm going to give you a short demo. Please don't fuck up. Yes, it's not fuck up. So this is actually, I'm training data using machine learning to basically with using KNN algorithm. And this one is a three neighbor. Yeah, this one is 3. If I didn't update it, yeah, that's 3. So basically, imagine if you have a lot of data, and then the more data you have, meaning that the more reliable your program is. Meaning that if you keep on doing this, then they will really suggest you close to absolute truth for you, basically, then because the program will get smarter and smarter. Awesome, isn't it? So then after that, I was thinking like, OK, this is cool. What next? Well, what next is all up to you. I feel like decision-making and prioritizations are hard, inefficient, and time-consuming for human being, for obvious reasons, because we use emotions, we think too much, that could actually cause a lot of unnecessary stress caused by our natural human errors. I'm not saying that thoughts, feelings, and emotions are useless, because there are certain things that human can perform better than machines, and vice versa. For example, probability, data training, like huge mathematical calculations. These things are extremely natural for machines, but not for humans. Despite my skepticism in AI, I'd like to see, instead of a threat, see it more as an opportunity for us. Because I do believe when we combine our strengths together with AI, we could enhance our ability to make a greater impact to the world. And I'm losing it. Oh, yeah, no, it's good. Oh, I'm sorry. But again, like, what I'm trying to say, see, there's a pizza again. What I'm trying to say is, we never know what's going to happen in the future. But I do know it's better to be involved earlier than later. Because I really think, like, that's why I really want to encourage each one of us in this room to just jump into the machine learning or AI as soon as possible. Because I really think that the future of AI really depends on us. Thank you very much.